John Gibson over the last couple of games, though, and especially over like the last couple of weeks, but like the last few games especially, has been finding a way to make it work. Putting up a 953 save percentage on 43 shots against Washington, a 962 on 52 shots on against Carolina there. Just he's been playing phenomenal. Like to combine these last two games, especially, a 958 save percentage, 4 goals against on 96 shots. And Natural Stat Trick says that he has faced 34 high danger shots and has saved 30 of them. All of the goals have been high danger, which is, you don't obviously you don't want goals against, but you would rather have them be high danger ones than low danger. And putting up a goal save above expected of 5.7 right now. John Gibson over the last couple of games has been playing out of his mind. And there's one tweet from Felix Sicard of the Sporting Tribune and the Crash the Pond podcast. Oh, yeah. Felix tweeted the other day after that game against Washington, definitely felt like a Patrick Kane-esque someone rescue me from this type performance from John Gibson. And that went into Carolina as well. And that tweet has, speaking of rent-free, has been living in my head rent-free, especially after Elliot Freeman going on one of the Duck Stream episodes recently and talking about John Gibson and just the idea of him being moved. Obviously, it's really hard to do with his contract, but at the same time, you put up games like this behind a team like the Anaheim Ducks and some playoff team that might just want, assurance or just to really solidify their goaltending, might take a chance at those next 3 years, but you're definitely looking at retention of some sort, maybe even like a 3-way trade, which, those seem to be the going thing right now. So maybe it's just, who needs a goalie, and let's call up Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, with the hard cap, you have to, like, some of these teams, all these competitive teams are right up there, and they have which is why the Rangers are trying to make magic happen and get Patrick Kane on their team. It's, it's why Vegas is in on Timo Meier, even though I can't even imagine I can't unless it's the right price. I can't see Mike Greer trading him to within the division. So I think he's
Godfather offer.
Exactly.
Can't refuse.
It's got to be an offer he cannot refuse, which I don't think Vegas can afford. But it's with John Gibson, and this has been the talk the last 5 seasons, is, John Gibson moving at the deadline, because they're like, oh, here's this great goalie, which good. I'm glad everyone can acknowledge that he's a fantastic goaltender, despite being on a horrible team and with no defense, no help, being painfully outshot, which is, I feel like what gets me out of bed in the morning is having to defend John Gibson on a daily basis. And I love doing it. I'll keep doing it. But I just look at all the teams that could afford to take on John Gibson, that would want to. And I don't know if there's a way, like you said, I don't think there's a way to make it happen without a third team in there. Because if you're Pat Verbeek, you don't want to be hanging on to too much salary retention, which I think he will have to do with Adam Henrique if he's going to move him. I don't see the Ducks getting rid of, if he is moved at the deadline, I don't see him coming off the books completely. There's just so much money. And then with Gibson, it would have to be as well. The one place, and it keeps getting brought up, and probably because he's from there, Pittsburgh needs some goalie help desperately. I mean, given the Tristan Jarry, I'm glad he had a bounce back year last year, but Casey DeSmith has just been so inconsistent, and it's just not a reliable backup. And it's hard to believe, you're even joking about the idea of like, John Gibson as a possible backup. You're like, no. But which is why probably Anthony Stolarz is more of a feasible option there. But you look at even possibly facilitating a trade there, barely any cap space. Ron Hextall has already said he does not want to let go of high draft picks, which Verbeek's not going to let go of Gibby without some high draft capital in return. And it's kind of one of those things where you even look at that team kind of, we're reverse. We're looking at the Penguins as a picture, they're in not only win now mode, they're in, hey, we're slipping. We're getting out of our window here, as we're seeing now. I mean, their core is showing up, but everything else isn't.
Yeah.
And you've got a core that's not getting any younger. So you're like, hey, we got to capitalize while Crosby, Malkin, and Letang are still producing high. And part of that, obviously bottom six has been a mess for them defense, but goaltending has also been inconsistent as well, with Jari going in and off the injured reserve. So goaltending is definitely, if they're going to be making moves, add to the defense, add to goaltending there, which, hey, we've got some pieces to offer outside of Gibson for that as well.
Yep.
But I just don't see a way.